The first thing I notice is the quiet. Our apartment has that soft, late evening hush where the refrigerator hum feels like a heartbeat and the hallway light under the door draws a small golden line across the floor. I stand in the kitchen with a grocery bag on my hip and the other hand on the fridge handle, and I count like a person doing inventory of her own life. 2 yogurts left when there should be 4. The jar of almond butter has a half-inch lower than I remember. The leftovers from the soup I made on Sunday are gone entirely. Tupperware washed and stacked as if by a polite ghost. I tell myself memory is slippery after a long day, that it is nothing, that I will be fine after tea and a shower. I say the same thing I have been saying for a week, and it lands thinner each time. I try to be generous. I think about my roommate, Lena, who is a graduate student with a tired laugh and a calendar that looks like a battlefield. We split the bills and we split the chores and we do not split our food. That was part of the move in conversation. Clear and friendly. You do you, I do me, we label things, and if either of us needs something, we ask. It felt adult and kind, the way you make rules to protect a friendship from friction. I like rules. They make my world hold a shape. I put a new Sharpie label on the carton of eggs with my initials and the date. It is not passive-aggressive, I tell myself. It is practical. I am a woman trying to keep track. I make tea, rinse the mug I always use, and sit on the edge of the couch that faces the window. Our block is a river of small lives, dog walkers and bikes with baskets, and the occasional music from a window someone has not meant to leave open. I sip and watch and try to let the irritation slide off. It clings. It is not the money, not really. It is the feeling of being made to live around an absence and forced to pretend you do not notice. Lena comes in near 10 with her backpack slung low and her hair claw clipped in a tangle that says she has been running all day. She smiles, greets me, drops her keys in the bowl by the door with the tink I know well, and heads straight to the sink to wash her hands like a surgeon. I like this about her. She is clean and careful and not a chaos person. It is almost enough to swallow my question. Almost. I set down my mug and ask if she has seen my soup. She freezes, turns, and for a second I see something like fear dart across her face before she smooths it into a shrug. No, she says. Light. She did not touch anything. She grabbed a sandwich on campus. Her eyes flick to the fridge and back like a guilty tell, and my stomach tightens. I do not press. I say okay. I say no worries. I say I hope your day was not a disaster. She deflates, grateful for the pivot, and we talk about classes and my clients and the landlord's email about the front gate. But when I climb into bed later, the questions spool like thread in my head. The yogurt, the soup, the way the spoon had been returned to the drawer clean, bowl scrubbed and dried. If it is not Lena, then what? A mouse cannot peel a label off an egg carton and set it on the counter. A poltergeist does not appreciate Tupperware. I drift in and out of sleep and wake at 2:50 with the sense that the apartment is breathing differently. I listen, hold my own breath, hear a faint sound like glass touching glass. I tell myself it is the radiator. I tell myself I am safe. I count to 190 and fall back into a restless dream where I open the fridge and find a blank white box with my name written on the side in a hand I do not recognize. In the morning, I prepare a simple lunch I am actually excited to eat, which is a small thing and therefore important. I make a grain bowl with roasted sweet potatoes, chickpeas, and a lemon tahini dressing I whisk until it looks glossy and optimistic. I pack it in the good container, the one with the right seal that will not leak in my bag, and I slide it into the fridge on the top shelf with a small sense of ceremony. The workday is a string of meetings and emails and at least one conversation where a man explains my own deliverable back to me, which is its own art form. I come home at 7, hang my coat, toe off my boots, and go straight for the door with the magnet shaped like a pineapple. I open to an empty space where the container should be. My vision narrows to a pinhole. I put my hand on the shelf because my knees threaten to go strange. On the second shelf is a different container, square and older, with no label and a smudge of something on the lid. I open it, prepped for horror or a note or a punchline. Inside are 2 carrots, peeled, and a handful of dry spinach. It feels like a bad joke from a person who misunderstands jokes. The anger rises clean and sharp, which is almost a relief. Anger I can work with. I call Lena's name and she answers from the bathroom with the fan on and the water running. I wait, because I am not a person who will knock over a fan and force a confrontation through steam. She comes out in a towel, startled, hair damp at the edges. I hold up the container like a prop. Where is my lunch? I ask, and my voice is not loud but it is made of steel. She blinks at me, looks at the carrots, and I watch the flicker of calculation in her face like a boarding display at an airport. Flights changing, destinations flipping. Then something inside her snaps. Not a hard snap, not rage. Something brittle breaking down under its own weight. Her eyes fill with tears in an instant and she says, "Please, do not eat anything from the top shelf, please." And her hands are up like I am holding a knife and not a salad plan. I do not know what to do with that. I ask where my food island, she says she threw it out. I say why. She says because she was scared. I say of what? She opens and closes her mouth and then she whispers, 247, like it is a spell that might turn the room. I stare at her. She is shaking now, cheeks glittered with tears, towel knotted at her chest. She says the time like I should know, and when I do not she wilts. Something happened at 247, she says, and I threw away everything from the top shelf because I did not know which container he touched. He. The word jumps like a fish and flops on the floor between us. I ask who. She shakes her head and pushes past me to her room, which is not like her. I stand in the kitchen with carrots and spinach and a cold feeling spreading from my ribs. I follow, because curiosity and fear are cousins. She has a small desk with a plant and a calendar and a laptop that hums awake when she touches it. She opens a folder on the desktop labeled with a date and an hour. She clicks a video. And there we are, our kitchen, blue in the light of the fridge, and a shape in the frame that turns my bones to ice. A man, hood up, face mostly shadowed, wrist bare under his sleeve with a thin band tattoo I recognize because I have seen it once on a stranger at the mailboxes. He moves with care, opens the fridge like it is his, touches containers like he is shopping. I do not breathe for the length of the clip. He closes the door, moves out of frame, and the timestamp reads 2:47. Lena pauses on the band of ink at his wrist, a ring of small mountains. She looks at me as if she has confessed to a crime and a prayer. I ask how. She says she moved a camera last week, the sort that sticks near the ceiling, because she thought she felt air shift by the door at night and wanted to know if she was losing her mind. I ask why she did not tell me. She says she was trying to protect me and did not know what she was protecting me from. The towel has slipped a little and she tightens it with shaking fingers. I am hungry and my anger dissolves into a new kind of fear that tastes like metal. I ask who he island. She says she thinks she knows but she is not sure, and that is somehow worse than a name. The next days are a strange choreography where every step feels like it could trip an alarm. We lock the deadbolt in the chain and push a chair under the handle like a movie, and still I wake with the sound of the fridge door in my head. Lena moves through the apartment like a shadow, careful and taut, and I try to be a person who is not afraid in front of her. The landlord responds to my message about the video with a brisk, "We will investigate, please do not install unauthorized devices," and I want to slam my phone into the sink. I send a copy of the clip anyway. It is our home. I will not be scolded for proof. At work, I become a split screen. On one side, I am composed and competent and sending the right version of every file. On the other, I am watching the timestamp on my watch slide toward 2 and then 3, and imagining the shape of a wrist with a ring of mountains moving through my kitchen. I tell my friend at lunch a version that does not sound like danger because I do not want her to insist on a couch I am not ready to take. She looks at me like I have told her I saw lightning crawl along a sidewalk. I go home with a knot between my ribs that does not loosen. We buy cheap tape and a marker, and place small hair thin lines across the edges of the fridge door, the cabinets, the front door, the hallway closet with the weird click. We balance a coin on the lid of the sugar jar. We do quiet theater for an audience of one who does not care what we think of him. The first night everything is still. The second night the tape on the top of the fridge is split, a sharp diagonal like a careless signature, and the coin lies on the counter like a dropped button. I hate feeling clever. I want a world where tape stays whole because it should. Lena's hands shake when she tosses anything that touched the top shelf into a trash bag. She wears gloves now, and that makes me want to sit on the floor. I ask if we should call the police even if we cannot prove a name. She says she tried once when she lived in another building. She had a name then and a car description and still they said to file a report online. My mouth goes dry. I ask if this is the same man. She nods once, small and fierce, like an admission and a vow. She says the mountains on his wrist belong to a person she used to know, someone she tried to stop knowing and could not, and I feel the shape of the story even if I do not know the chapters. I tell her I am sorry. I tell her we will not do this alone. The building group chat lights with small dramas, packages misplaced, a neighbor's bike found 2 doors down. I consider posting the still image from the video and then I do it, because embarrassment is not as bad as fear. The responses scatter. Someone says that we must have staged it. Someone else says they saw a man near the gate last week, hoodie up, a nervous dance of feet, and did not think much of it. A third person says that the landlord will be furious about the camera and now we have invited liability for everyone. It is like talking to water. The property manager rings our bell the next morning. He arrives with a clipboard and a set of keys that jangle like a threat. He is polite the way a person can be when they have already decided. He says he will inspect the locks, and he does, and he pronounces them intact. He says there is no sign of forced entry. I say that is the point. He says we cannot prove who has a copy of what. I say the company that rekeyed the building 2 years ago kept records. He says he will ask. He says please remove recording devices from common areas. Lena and I stand in our doorway feeling like we are on a stage set to look like our home. That night I cannot decide if I am more angry at the intruder or the people who want me to be quiet because it makes their jobs easier. I set my phone on the table and Lena sets hers next to it and we watch a movie with the volume low, Two women pretending to relax. At 2:36, the hallway light under our door flickers and we both sit up like we have been pulled on strings. We stare until our eyes burn. At 3:20, my body gives up and we sleep while the fridge hums and the night holds its breath. When the second video shows the same wrist and the same careful hand and a new detail, the corner of his face near the cheek where a scar lifts the skin in a pale crescent, Lena stops shaking. The fear condenses into something cooler, a resolve that looks almost like calm. She texts me a list in the morning like a battle plan. Call the nonprofit legal clinic, copy the video files to 2 drives, print stills with timestamps, ask the neighbor across the hall if her doorbell camera caught anything. I request a meeting with the property manager and the landlord and the building mediator whose name I only know because we argued about recycling once. I say yes to all of it. I am best when a plan gives my hands something to do. We sit in a room that wants to look benevolent. It has neutral art and a bowl of peppermints and a round table that says we are all equal here. The mediator wears a soft sweater and takes notes in a clean hand. The landlord sits with his jaw tight. The property manager has a legal pad like a shield. 2 neighbors we trust have come to be our backbone. Lena looks steady and small at the same time, which is a specific kind of courage. I bring the folder with the videos and the stills and the calendar of tape breaks and coin drops. When it is our turn, I tell the story as if it belongs to a friend I respect. I do not apologize for tone or length. We show the first clip and then the second. We point to the wristband tattoo like a map feature. We pause on the flash of the cheek and the faint mark that pulls at the skin. The room stops breathing in that way. I have learned to recognize the way a group goes quiet when the picture in their head finds an anchor. The neighbor across the hall clears her throat and sends a clip from her door. A figure at our door at 2:46. A quick turn of a wrist. A smooth entry that is not the fumbling of a thief. The lock opens as if it belongs. The property manager says it could be someone with our code. We say there is no code. There is a key, old school, brass, with a bite pattern that should not be easy to duplicate unless you had access. The landlord says residents often lend keys to friends, and I do not slam my hand on the table because I am trying to live like the kind of person I want to be. Lena speaks then, very quietly, and says she filed a police report last year about a former acquaintance who learned her routines and showed up in places he should not be. She shows the email header with a report number, the small, ragged proof that something bad crossed an office desktop and became a line in a database. She says she changed buildings and thought distance would be a wall. There is a shift in the landlord's face then. A crack in the hard line of policy. He asks for the date of the report. He asks for the name if she is willing to give it. She takes a breath and says it. It is a simple name. Nothing cartoon villain about it. And that makes it worse. The property manager looks down and then up again and says a staffer who worked here on a maintenance crew last year left under a cloud, that there had been complaints about wandering too long in hallways, about friendliness that was not appropriate, about keys going missing and then found in the wrong box. My chest goes cold. The mountains on the wrist, the smoothness at the lock. The manager says they did not have proof. I want to say that proof is not what people like him lack. Imagination Island. We ask for new locks on the whole building and a system where rekeys are documented in a way a judge would respect. The landlord hesitates like a person doing math. The neighbors speak up then, both of them, voices politely firm in a way that says they will make phone calls and gather signatures and be loud in the right places if the answer is no. The mediator nods and writes. The property manager says he will call the locksmith today. He says he will file his own report with the details we have brought. The room loosens a fraction. Lena lays one more sheet on the table. It is a list of food thrown out and the dates and times, each a small loss recorded. She says she tossed it because she did not know what had been touched. She says she did not tell me at first because she was ashamed that danger had found her again and she did not want it to touch me. My throat tightens in a place words skip. I say I accused her to myself of something she did not do. I say I want to live in a house where people say things when they are afraid, even if the saying feels like breaking. The mediator writes something that might be empathy and might be protocol. It is fine. We have what we need. The locksmith arrives with a cart of bright new hardware and a face that looks like he does not want to be in any story at all. He changes every lock on our floor first. Then the front gate. Then the laundry room that had a handle that never felt quite right. He hands out keys with numbered tags and a clipboard to record who took what when. The property manager walks with him, counting like a penitent. The landlord posts a notice in the lobby about improved security measures and a friendly reminder that unauthorized recordings are not allowed, which is ridiculous and also not the fight I care about anymore. We compile our evidence into an envelope with a label that makes it real. The police desk at the precinct is cluttered with forms and a jug of coffee. And the officer who takes our statements looks weary but present. He watches the clips and nods at the wrist, the scar, the smoothness with the key. He asks for the name and the dates and our address. He says he cannot promise anything, but he will attach the video to the report and flag it for the detective who works burglary and break-ins in our area. He gives Lena a card and tells her to call if anything else happens. It is not a movie. It is a file in a system. It is still something. The neighbor across the hall stops by with a plate of cookies and says she is sorry she did not say something sooner when she heard a click late one night and thought it was just a normal life sound. She says we should knock if we ever need anything at an inconvenient hour and she will not mind. I believe her. The group chat is suddenly full of helpful links about tenant rights and a story from a fifth-floor resident whose sister had to rekey her house twice because a cousin would not give a key back, which is not quite on point and still carries a kernel of understanding. The property manager calls to say the former staffer is not on any current roster and that they will run his name against the vendor list to be sure. He says he has emailed the rekeying company for logs. He says he is sorry this happened. The apology is a small stone set in the mortar of the week, and I place it there with the others. Lena's hands have stopped shaking when she reaches for the fridge handle. We talk again about food, mine and hers, how we label and share and ask. We make a new rule that is not really a rule, just a promise to say things out loud even if our voices shake. I am not convinced we are safe. I am convinced we are safer today than we were last week, and that is a usable truth. I learn the sound of the new lock, a clean, decisive turn that feels like a door learning its own name. I sleep and wake and sleep again with fewer jagged edges in the night. I catch myself looking at the top shelf with something like respect, a silly feeling for a space made of plastic and air. It held a story for us until we could hold it ourselves. A letter arrives from the legal clinic that says they have added our videos to the file and that a victim's advocate can talk to Lena about options if she wants a protective order. She folds it into her backpack with the neat care she gives to anything official. She says she wants a life where she does not need a stack of papers to feel okay. I say I want that for both of us. We stand in the kitchen and cook together in a way we have not in weeks. 2 chopping boards, 2 small clouds of steam. The refrigerator, a non-character for once. The landlord offers a 1-month rent reduction as a gesture, which feels like a tiny bandage on a deep bruise and also like a gesture a person makes when they have seen themselves more clearly. The building hires a new security company and puts a small camera in the lobby with a sign that says recording in progress. It is legal there. It is their device. I do not roll my eyes. I am tired of rolling anything except dough for cookies. I want to bake in a home that feels like one. On a Tuesday afternoon, the detective calls to say the man in our videos matches a pattern in a few other buildings, that his name is on a report list, that a patrol car has spoken to him, and he denied everything in a way the detective did not find persuasive. They will keep an eye. They recommend we keep our eyes too. It is not the ending with handcuffs that television taught me to expect, and yet my shoulders drop. The watching is shared now. The burden is not just ours. Lena and I sit on the couch and talk about moving and about staying. The thought of starting over with a new lease and boxes and bubble wrap makes me want to lie down on the floor. The thought of staying and jumping at the hum of a refrigerator at 2 in the morning makes me want to run. The mediator in my head says something about trauma loops and sense of control. I decide to give us an exit even if we do not use it. I email a listing for a small studio not far from my office. 1 window, hardwood floors that glowed in the photo. I tell Lena I am not punishing her or the apartment, that I am choosing quiet and a door I lock and a fridge that hums for me alone. She nods and looks at the plant on the window and then at me and says she understands, and that she might move closer to campus when her lease runs, and that there is no failure in wanting a place that feels like yours from the bones out. We make it a month before I sign the lease on the studio. In that month, the building's new locks hold firm, and the group chat is full of boring things like who left their laundry too long in a dryer and does anybody have a ladder to borrow. Lena laughs again with her old lightness. I watch her tilt toward a version of herself that is not braced for impact. The fridge becomes an appliance again. My Sharpie labels become redundant and then fade. There is a quiet victory in redundancy. On the last night in our apartment, I stand in the kitchen and touch the edges of the shelves like I am telling a friend goodbye. I am not sentimental about boxes and walls, but I am sentimental about the version of me who tried to hold a line when the world doubled. I stack my last container, clean, in the cabinet and think about soups and grain bowls and the way food becomes a story when you are not careful. Lena comes to the doorway with her hair in a clip and a tired smile and asks if I want tea. I say yes, and we stand side by side while the kettle breathes and the apartment holds us one more time. The studio is small and warm and the window looks at a tree that will leaf in spring. I buy a new set of containers and I label exactly nothing. I cook the same soup and eat it over 2 days and the only person who knows is me. What happened in that kitchen taught me something about the thin places where fear and silence let danger in, and about the tender work of saying a thing out loud while your hands shake. I thought my roommate was stealing my food. The truth was worse and also clearer. Someone had taken a key to our sense of safety, and we took it back. When I lock my door at night now, I listen for the sound and it answers yes. I place oranges in a bowl and they glow in the afternoon sun like small planets. I text Lena a photo of the tree outside and she sends me an image of her new campus cafe where the coffee is terrible and the light is beautiful. The story is not erased. It sits on a shelf in me like a container with a label that says open with care. And I do, sometimes, to remember how we made it through. Then I close it and make dinner and eat slowly and wash the dish and dry it and set it in the cabinet like a person whose home belongs to her again.